Hello, folks. Welcome to one more edition of Politics on Right. I'm Egberto Willis, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today, folks. Things are going crazy. Before we get to the title of the show, though, we have the new interim manager in the studio right now, and I'm going to put him on the spot immediately. How you doing, Judan?
I'm fine, thank you.
I don't think you've ever been on Politics Done Right thus far, right?
This is my first time.
This is your first time. Now tell me what's new, what's going to be happening. Talk to the audience and tell us a little bit what's going on out here. I know we have a fund drive that's going to be coming up. Tell us a little bit about what's going to be going on.
Well, first of all, I think I want to underscore the importance of KPFT in this period of history, in this period of time. We were in the Martin Luther King Day parade on yesterday.
Yes.
And I've been in the movement, basically all of my adult life. I got involved in the movement in my freshman, sophomore year in college at the University of Texas, and I never stopped. And so I get a certain feeling from being involved in the movement when the spirit of the people begins to rise again, when the people are connecting again to what the issues are and why our condition is as it is. I caught that feeling several times this weekend. I spoke at the Community Music Center celebration of MLK, and I read 3 speeches of Dr. King, narrated 3 speeches during the performance. And I could tell, in fact, several people remarked about it after the presentation and after the musical production, that they had that feeling. See, I've been to the King Center in Atlanta. I've been to the church where Dr. King gave his final speech, been in that same pulpit. And you can feel the energy of when the people are connecting. Now, there was a certain time during the 80s and 90s when people did not have that kind of movement.
When you're talking about connection, exactly what you're talking about, connecting with what?
So, somewhere I think about the early 2000s, the late 90s, several things happened politically, and our people weren't involved. They weren't engaged. They weren't listening. There was a time, I don't know how long you've been in Houston, but Ta Seti used to have, every year, they'd bring 6 or 8 historians or lecturers or political scientists to Houston, and they'd have these forums and these lectures where people could know. And then there became a time, I think it's partly generational, where people stopped listening. They weren't talking about our condition as a people. They were talking about themselves. Our people turned inward. And then certain things happened, like the mass incarceration legislation passed during the Clinton administration. 3 strikes, you're out. Crack cocaine and a horrendous penalty. Cocaine is cocaine.
Right.
Crack cocaine
and crack
is
is the
not,
same thing, right?
It's not worse than cocaine.
But let me. I want to hit you up on that because I've been talking a whole lot about this crack cocaine and the difference in the legislation, how they're judged, who goes to jail, etc. You know what really got me upset? That we had the darn CBC as part of the deal.
The CBC?
The Congressional Black Caucus.
Well, a lot of us got confused.
Okay.
Some of these are inside. There was a tremendous amount of crime that began associated with a particular addictive disease and the behavior subject to crack cocaine.
Right.
You can go back to Superfly and then the new Superfly.
You remember those days,
and you see the
and Shaft,
the violence and all of that. But we had the same thing with heroin.
Right.
We've never had that around marijuana, just to be factual about it.
Right.
And people began to be so outraged about the violence, they didn't understand the nature of the addiction and the fact that from somewhere, our people did not, the drug dealers in our community are not chemists.
Right.
They didn't create crack cocaine.
Right.
They distributed it.
Right.
And then that article, that expose came out in California about actually the government entities
actually flying those drugs,
and flooded it into the black community.
Right.
So some of us, because we've got to look deeper into these issues. It's one of the reasons I appreciate your show, brother.
Mm-hmm.
You are some type of intellect and historian, man. I really appreciate the depth.
I mean, I think that's important, right? A lot of what's happening now is people operating out of ignorance, and one of the things that we want to do here at KPFT is make sure that we just open people's eyes, right?
That's absolutely correct, because our birth, we're 50 years old this year,
right.
So we're celebrating 50 years. And we're telling people we've done our first 50, come support us, be a part of us, join us for our second 50.
Right.
KPFT was born out of the movement in 1970, along with the Pacifica Network, where activists got together and said, we want to form a network. We have 5 stations across the country: New York, Washington, D.C., L.A., San Francisco, and Houston, right there with the big boys. Our station was bombed off the air twice.
Right, by the KKK.
Not our studios, but our transmitter.
Right.
Well, they didn't bomb us off the air because, we were playing music they didn't like. They bombed the station off the air because of the ideas, because of the inclusion, because of the information, because of the constituencies we represent.
Right.
We allow and invite to be a part of the KPFT family, the Pacifica family. All of these underrepresented, unvoiced constituencies in America. That would be African Americans, that would be Hispanics, that would be the gay community, that would be the progressive community.
That would be women.
That would be women.
Right.
Yeah. People, some would say we're radical, but we're really just truth tellers.
Right.
But we provide access to information locally, nationally, and internationally that's just not going to be on the major, mainstream, corporately owned media platform.
And that is the whole goal of this station. Judon, tell us a little bit now about the fund drive, because we got to get into some Medicare for all and about Hillary. You're going to hear. I think you're going to like what I have to say about that.
I like everything you got to say.
All right,
because
brother.
You spark communication and dialogue and depth. One of the things that was disturbing me about the political discourse in our community, it wasn't connected to data, information, and research. I spent 11 years at Texas Southern University working in academia before I came over here, running the Mickey Leland Center.
Right.
And so we're doing 2 things. One, if people want to know what we're about, go to the website.
And that is?
KPFT.org.
There you go.
And the same thing with the Pacifica Foundation.org. Because that mission statement says just what I said in longer terms, but it tells people what we're all about. We are listener-sponsored radio. We don't sell commercials.
Right.
That also means, which means we don't get revenue, but it also means that we are free to speak on whatever we want to speak on without fear of what corporate sponsors might like or might not like about that. And we're also community radio. The basic membership to be a member of KPFT family is $25 a year. Now, I know you don't drink, but I know people who do drink, and they drink way more than $25 up on one day of a 3-day weekend. Come on now. We can't say we don't have that. We need a lot more than that. But the point being, for a basic membership, you get, as one of the benefits of membership, you can vote in the elections for KPFT and the Pacifica people to be on the board of directors of the local station board and the national. So truly, you become an investor in KPFT and part of the decision-making body that governs and evaluates and suggests and gives policy guidance to what we do. Now, that's different from every other radio station, every other station.
All right, Judon Bonnet, new interim director of KPFT 90.1 FM. Thank you,
all right,
brother.
my brother. The fund drive starts on the 23rd. That's Thursday this week. I'll be here.
All right. Every day.
Every day.
Actually, I'll be here on Thursday and Friday. We're going to be taking over this morning and making sure that stuff happens, man.
That's right, because you're going to be pitching with Amy Goodman from Democracy Now!
Now, yeah. So we're going to clean up, right?
Yes, sir.
Folks, don't forget, it's going to be 713-526-5738, and we are going to do it. Anyhow, today's show. First of all, Lupita, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great.
Did you take over? Did you take over the show today, Lupita?
No, I didn't. I know the fans wanted me to.
Oh, I tell you.
But no, it's just co-hosting, back to co-hosting like usual.
Yes.
But I did receive a lot of compliments. Juan told me that people were messaging him as well, letting him know that I did a good job. So that gave me a lot of confidence.
Well, I listened to you on my way into Kingwood. So anyhow, we're going to get busy. That was some important information we had from Judon. Hey, folks, Hillary's Bernie attack was shameful. You know what? Before I say that, folks, for those of you on the video, you see that woman next to me? That's my mother. She came in from Panama. No, you didn't come in from Panama. You came in from San Diego. How you doing, Ma?
Pretty good.
Good. This is the first time you're actually watching your son live, right?
That's true.
All right. Okay. She's tongue-tied now. That's true. Anyhow, folks, let's get busy. Hillary's Bernie attack was shameful. More doctor organizations supporting Medicare for all. Those are the two subjects. So, Hillary's attack on Bernie has two purposes: slow down his momentum, and second, refuse to accept responsibility for her loss. More doctors on board Medicare for all? Hey, you know what? It's getting serious, folks. We cover two important subjects today. Hillary Clinton is making a lot of noise. It's important that we push back on Hillary for several reasons. She has opened a door I think we can use to finally reach many of her voters who are under the belief that Bernie and progressives were responsible for her loss. They were not. And that is what we're going to start with. But before I get to the program, I want to remind all our listeners that KPFT is a bastion of intelligent voices and programs. As a political activist myself, my favorites are Think Wing Radio with
Mike Honig on Mondays at 3 p.m.
And of course, we have Open Journal with
Dwayne Bradley and crew on Mondays at 6 p.m.
And then we have Jazz Latino, Afro-Cuban Latin Jazz at its very best, hosted by
Juan Flores and Lupita, Tuesdays from noon to 2.
Wait. You didn't do that right. Who is Lupita?
Me.
There you go. And then, of course, the show after this, the one that drives me back into Kingwood, it's the one and only Jenner Asian Radio. And I see Nabu right back in there, one of the guys setting up already. A weekly radio program featuring an eclectic mix of Asian underground, Bagra, Bollywood, funk, Hindi Rai, where ancient sounds meet future beats. And that is when and where?
Tuesdays from 4 to 6 p.m.
There you go, folks. Check out our full schedule at kpft.org, where you can find programming from music to politics to medicine to the eclectic. KPFT is a listener-supported public community radio station, so please remember, if you like what you hear, visit kpft.org and ensure we remain a strong, viable community radio station that provides news, programming, and information not influenced by whom?
The corporatocracy.
Not influenced by the corporatocracy, people. We got to get busy. We got to get real. What are your thoughts? Give us a call, 713-526-5738. The second subject that I'm taking on today is going to be Medicare for all, because after the show last week, a lot of folks called in and said, hey, you need to do this again. We need to know some more stuff. We want to hear these things. John, I'm coming to you soon after. And Scott, I'm coming to you as well. But let's get busy with this stuff with Hillary Clinton. Before I was going to write a blog of the week. And the blog of the week was going to be about Hillary's comment saying, I'm not necessarily going to vote for El Senor Bernie Sanders. And then I said, suppose Bernie had said that. The whole Democratic Party would have exploded. I can't believe he's not going to support the party nominee. Okay, that's what would have happened then. I can't believe he won't support the party nominee. But she comes out and she says, nobody likes Bernie. I'm hearing some breathing on the thing. Is that something there? Okay. I think this may be maybe too loud on this, the gain on this particular mic. Yeah. Anyhow, okay. Now, here's the deal. If Bernie had said that, it would have been the end of the world. She said that Bernie does not have the support of people. Nobody likes Bernie. Bernie is a senator that has the most support, bar none. He's the most liked candidate, bar none. Okay, that's a fact. Second fact is the following. Many, and this is where the reason I didn't write the article, because I wanted to be pensive about it. I wanted to be factual about it. I wanted to think about it, because my goal is not to alienate Hillary Clinton's current followers. My role is to try to make peace and let them know that the person that they're following Love Hillary if you want to. That's your choice. But remember, we have to move forward. And here's the reality. Hillary Clinton lost the election not because of Russia, not because of Bernie, not because of Russia played a part. Maybe if Russia didn't get involved, she would have gotten enough votes to win anyway. Bernie, a lot of the Bernie people, most of them voted for her, but a few didn't. Maybe if some of those had voted for her, they would as well. She would have won as well. But the real thing that caused her to lose, and the math is simple and the math is absolute. If you go to Michigan, if you go to Wisconsin, and if you go to Pennsylvania, she just did not perform with the black vote in those states that she should have gotten. And the reason she did not perform with those particular constituencies is because she chose not to go to them. She chose not to ask for their votes. She chose to assume those votes would just be there for her. Nobody likes to be taken for granted. And 200,000 people, the difference, 200,000 people in less folks voted in, I think it's either Wisconsin or Pennsylvania, I don't remember which state, than did in the Obama years. So the hard facts are this. Even with Russia's involvement, even with Bernie's people who decided to go Bernie or bust, if Hillary had done her job in those 3 states, which she lost by 80,000 votes, she would have been president of the United States. It is always, let me tell you what I told, and Scott and John, I'm coming to you. Let me tell you what I told the Bernie folks. I was a delegate for Bernie in Philadelphia. And when a lot of Bernie folks were starting to act up and said, oh, Hillary stole a lot of it apart, this or that, I looked at her and I looked at most of them and I said, it's the big boys, it's a big boys, big girls game. In other words, all these candidates do all kinds of crazy things to win. So when you lose because you didn't go ahead and play the game, it's just that you lost. And Bernie was man enough to accept that. Bernie was man enough to go to the convention. I was there and came out immediately for Hillary Clinton. Bernie didn't wait. Bernie didn't wait for his delegates to be counted at the convention floor. I was there. Bernie stopped the count and Bernie said, my votes are all going to Hillary Clinton. For Hillary Clinton now to say, if Bernie becomes the nominee, I'm not sure if I will support him. That is not only a mark on her, that is her disregard for the party instead of just being for herself. That's a fact. But anyhow, I'm going to go to Medicare for All now. Let me go ahead and run and take John. John, come on in. You're on line 1.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. All right.
Okay, tone down a little bit because I'm hearing a little echo, sir.
All right.
Go ahead.
What about now?
Thank you,
Can
sir.
you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
All right. So what is it you guys want to talk about? You want to talk about Medicare for All?
No. I mean, what is it that you want to talk about?
Well, the reason we're talking about Hillary Clinton, I mean, we just went off on her. The reason why Hillary Clinton didn't win the election is because no one liked Hillary Clinton. Okay? No one likes Bill Clinton or Hillary Clinton's policies, That's the reason why no one voted for her.
Okay, let me stop you. John, we're a fact-based program here. Let me just say one thing. Hillary Clinton won the popular vote. She won the election. Hillary Clinton proved a woman can win. Hillary Clinton proved that she had enough of a message to win.
If that's what you're going to base your election on, as being a woman or a man,
no, that's not what.
That's the wrong reason.
No, you're right.
Run for office.
You're right. That's not what I'm saying.
Bill Clinton. Okay, I'm 45 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, when I went to college, the cost of tuition was $17 a credit hour.
Right.
Right, for me to go to community. Well, Bill Clinton changed that in 1997 when he wrote a bill ending that, and that's the reason why now community colleges are $175 a credit hour.
Mm-hmm.
Bill Clinton, no one likes his policies. Bill Clinton with his also did with health care, made it more difficult for patients to sue for malpractice.
All right, let's clarify a few issues there, okay? Bill Clinton did sign those bills, but Bill Clinton did not write those bills. Newt Gingrich wrote those bills. They believe that college was supposed, they don't believe
this is the problem. That's the reason why people voted for somebody new. It's because they're tired of the Bush, Clinton, Bush empire. It doesn't matter who you vote for. I mean, Mitt Romney Obama campaign, whatever, the presidential election, it didn't matter who you voted for. I didn't vote because I lived in Massachusetts when Mitt Romney was the governor. It was an $800 fine if you didn't have health insurance. You got pulled over, the police would write you an $800 ticket for not having health insurance. It didn't matter if you voted. They're both going to implement the same policy.
Let me. I don't know how often you listen to Politics Done Right, but if you listen to Politics Done Right quite often, you hear me talk about the left rail, you hear me talk about the right rail, and you hear me talk about the establishment, and you hear me say that both establishments are all in the same because they're funded by the same people, and that's why when you get outliers like Bernie Sanders, the whole establishment comes down on folks like him. And why do they come down on folks like him? Because what he's trying to do is transformational. What he's trying to do is to bring issues to the forefront that really works on middle-class America and poor America. So you've heard me, if you've listened to the show, you've heard me say that, which means I'm not in at all disagreement with what you're saying. What I am saying, however, it's now time for us to turn all our rhetoric into action. And you, John, you can start. I mean, you called in here, so that's a hell of a start. That's a great start, right? That's what we do here. We're activist
I was a
radio.
professional political activist for a year and a half.
There you go. So
I worked 6 days a week, 12 hours a day for $140 a week.
Ouch. That's not much, but hey.
So that's all we got paid.
Yeah.
But the deal is that So you're a Bernie supporter, right?
I have to take my host hat off before to say that, but put it this way: I am inclined to like Bernie. Yes.
Well, okay. So, what Bernie Sanders came out and said it's going to cost $40 trillion for his Medicare for All plan.
Okay.
$40 trillion. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So, why would it cost that much money? And I don't understand why you would want to use the private sector, insurance companies, maintaining private hospitals. I mean, a friend of mine broke his leg in October of 2017. And it cost him $98,000.
Makes no sense.
Right. When I was in high school, my friend broke his leg in playing football. It cost him $900. So, what's gone on in the last 30 years is the private sector has taken control of our health care.
And hold 1 second. And that is the issue. Here's the problem. You have that story to tell. How often are you telling that story? You see, when we talk about Medicare for All, we have the Partnership for the Future of Americans Healthcare, who is funded with unlimited amount of resources, going out and telling people the following. If you go for Medicare for All, 143 million people will lose their health care, will lose their health insurance. That's what they tell people, and then people go crazy and they get scared. The part that they don't tell them is that, but what you get is you can go to any doctor you want. Whatever medicine that doctor prescribes to you, you don't have to go to the insurance company and beg to see if it's on the list or not. And that is some of the stuff I'm going to go more in detail when I talk about Medicare for All and the doctors who support it. So what I'm saying
I'd like to hear more about that. But see, the United States insurance is relevantly a new thing in the United States. It came on in the 70s, okay? And before insurance, the United States had a policy. It was called the Hill-Burton Healthcare System.
Right.
And it was a national policy, right? And so the United States built national hospitals, and they funded them.
John, I am with you. I'm going to have to go to the other caller, John, but here's the deal. Keep listening, and not only keep listening, you keep informing folks, but you can't just talk to the choir. That's what we have a lot of us doing. A lot of progressives are out there talking to the choir. When we try to open the doors to talk to other people start to get upset. We can't do that. We have to go ahead and expand the choir. So anyway, thank you so kindly for calling, sir.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, Scott, come on in. And folks, we have lines wide open, 713-526-5738. Again, that is 713-526-5738. Come on in, Scott.
Hello, thank you. Is there a Medicare for All plan that would not raise taxes on middle-class people?
All right. I wrote a blog yesterday, and, I am going to post that blog ad nauseum. I am pretty sure, Scott, you're an intelligent person, and you know math, right?
Okay, I don't know what figures are credible.
No. It's not about...
I see I see figures in the trillions about cost. I don't know what to believe.
Hold on, Scott. That's not what it's all about. And sorry for the coughing, guys. I'm sick as a dog. I'm sick as a dog, but I'm here because this is what we do. But here's the deal, Scott. You're an intelligent person. If I look at you and I told you, and forget about numbers. I don't even have to give you a number. This is just common sense. If I tell you a single payer system means one entity pays all the bills.
Okay.
And I also tell you that also means that there are no executives getting paid, no shareholders getting paid, no duplicate in database services, no duplicate in any of these services at all, period. If I tell you that, one formula would tell you if the only person if your only cost is the cost of administration, as opposed to the cost of administration, but plus the cost of executives, plus the cost of advertising, plus the cost of shareholder value, plus the cost of all these things, that's not even common sense. It is math that tells you. And a single payer system, it is impossible for it to cost less. That's the first thing we have to get across to the American citizenry. And you can be a start of that. I mean, it's not rocket science. What it takes, however, is for us to not allow others to teach us not to understand math, which we learned in first grade, because this is first grade math. So now that I've laid that out, when Bernie Sanders, I don't care what number Bernie Sanders or anybody use for health care, whatever number they use for health care, it'll be cheaper if there's only one entity paying that bill as opposed to private insurance companies paying that bill. That's an absolute statement. And what I wish Bernie Sanders, and I wrote to Bernie Sanders, a director, last week, and I said, you know what is the problem? We are not making the message simple enough to let people know that they're just lying to you. And too many people are accepting the lies. The fact of the matter, it is impossible for private insurance to be less expensive or more efficient than single payer, period. And we need to press that message, because it is our fear of pressing that message because they're going to tell these lies. No, we don't have to tell this lie. We need to call them the liars that they are. Go ahead, Scott.
Oh, I suppose it's conceivable that a government plan could hire a lot more people than necessary.
No. I mean, we could say the same thing for a private plan, right? The private plan's excess cost is what the share is that, look, there's this stuff in capitalism. There are two tenets, right? Whatever the market will bear is number one. And number two, we have supply and demand. Okay? So if your tenet is whatever the market will bear, and a private company's fiduciary responsibility is to the shareholder, then it is their responsibility to charge you all the money they can get out of you. That is the definition of a corporation. So when you lay those conditions out, the problem is most Americans don't go into the weeds with a lot of this, so you have to express it in a manner that everybody can understand. It is impossible, is what I'm saying. We would have to have a 20% rate of waste or 30% rate of waste for a single payer to be less efficient than a private system, and that a private system within itself has waste. What's waste? Whenever they fly, all those heads of insurance companies right now that are flying to Davos today, guess where they are? They're in Davos. They're on the other side of the world.
I haven't seen a Democrat contender make a convincing case for that.
Well, I think I just did a convincing case. Maybe I need to kind of, I think that's actually, I'm going to give you part kudos.
Still, I would want to.
We got a phone ringing.
Check and counter check different sources.
Please do. I
don't see good sources.
I tell people, that's the other thing that the Powell Manifesto did. The idea is we don't want people to believe that there are good sources out there. You know what is the most important source right now? Your brain, your mind. I wrote a thing called Let's Go Ahead and enslave our minds, remove the chains from our minds. You see, I wrote a piece and it didn't get a lot of traction because anytime you say slavery in the title, a lot of people run. And I shouldn't have put the word slavery in the article that I wrote. But I put the word slavery because slavery is not a color thing anymore, right? Slavery is a mind thing. And most of our minds right now is enslaved by a corporatocracy who knows every button to push to get us to work against our own interests.
Well, I've seen arguments recently that government programs always cost more than promised.
Right, and it's a lie. It's a lie. You know what? Let me give you an example, okay? Boeing bids to go ahead and build a shuttle, or I don't remember what company it was to build the shuttle. The government hires private corporations to bid. They hire private corporations to bid on government bodies. In other words, on government tools, on government spaceships. Every single thing that Lockheed has billed for, every single thing that Boeing has bidded for, by the end of that contract, they have socked it to the taxpayer because it costs a whole lot more. The inefficiency in our system is not government. The inefficiency in our system is the private sector following their tenet. And that tenet is fiduciary responsibility to the shareholder and maximizing the value with whatever the market will bear.
Okay, let's try the war on drugs.
Sure, let's go for it.
Hasn't it turned out a lot worse than Ronald Reagan promised?
Of course it did, and it's, you know why again? Who makes the drugs?
It's based on it's punitive.
No. Let's really get that. Let's talk about the drugs because I love that. Judan was in the studio here. We were talking a little bit about that earlier. Let's talk about the drugs. Why is it that we had politicians get punitive with drugs? Was it because they wanted to stop drugs, or was it that the private sector wanted to build prisons so that they would make a profit on the bodies of those who use dope?
Well, many politicians thought the easy way was to
go ahead.
Use people's emotions.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. So what I'm saying is, believe it or not, you are agreeing with me that it is the private sector that is the problem. The private sector has paid off the government to do its bidding, to do evil many times on people. And you saw it in the drug deals, in the what we spoke about, incarceration of people. We see it in the way Medicare, the private folks who bill Medicare double bill them. We see it everywhere. It's not the government that do the wrong thing. It's a private sector hired by the government who rips the government off. And then at the same time now they said, oh, the private sector is more efficient. And we believe it because that's the narrative we've been taught.
I don't think the war on drugs is that completely private sector. Now, there are private prisons.
No, it is private sector. And let me explain, okay? You get these institutions, you get these think tanks, which are private or many times non-profit private sector guys who are billed or who are invested in by the military, the prison industrial complex and all these guys. They invest in these non-profits. These non-profits are lobbyists to the government who write the laws. And after they write the laws, those guys profit. I mean, it's the game. When Elizabeth Warren says the first thing we have to do is take corruption out of government, the woman is right. The woman is right. I got to go, Scott. Thank you so kindly for calling, sir. Bye-bye. All right, folks, we have open line 713-526-5738. Again, 713-526-5738. Come on in, Bobby.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm doing fine, sir.
All right, we're jumping all over the place. I guess I'll pick up where you just left off.
Yes.
Yeah, you're right. You'll have like an oil company who will basically lobby to get somebody elected, that elected official will go in there with meetings, with the CEOs of the oil company. There'll be the oil company will already have laws written up by their lawyers, and then they'll all make a vote if amongst the CEOs if they want to try to push forward that law. With the let's say the senator having an equal vote amongst the other CEOs that are there,
right? And
then if it passes, and they basically give him the law, and then he takes it, to see if he can get it passed. So a lot of times the laws that are actually in effect, like about regulation for oil companies, these different things are actually written by the oil companies.
Yes, there's
and as far as slavery, you had mentioned slavery, and
yes.
like last week you were talking about such a large percentage of the money being in the hands of such a few people.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think back of if let's say during the Egyptian days, if they wanted to build something like the pyramids,
mm-hmm.
they had to have slaves, but that wasn't something they could just build overnight. So these
right.
slaves had to they had to give them housing, food, clothing. They had to keep them alive for several years, 10 years, however long it took, 20 to get this done. So as a society, if the way I see it is, if we're those of us who are living check to check, if you're all you're really paying for is your housing, your clothing, your food, and then you're going to work every day making somebody else rich, you're kind of like a slave, the system is set up
Bobby,
so that we make just enough money
Bobby,
where they try to keep you out of school and to do those things.
How old are you, Bobby? How old
better
are you?
yourself.
How old are you?
I'm 48.
You're 48. You're our future. Let me tell you something, Bobby. Here's the deal.
Right.
Here's the funny thing. You said something that I wrote about, and here's what I'm talking about. I mean, what you said was more powerful that I don't know if you see it. But here's the deal. You are working every day just to feed yourself, just to buy your clothes, and maybe feed your kid. But in all the work that you do, you are creating multi-billionaires. 2,153 billionaires
Correct.
have more money than half of the world. Okay?
And so all that money, though, is taken out of our economy so that it can't circulate. It's stuck in their
right.
bank accounts where it's accruing even more interest and taking even more money out.
Right.
And so we're left with just like the crumbs of what's left over that they don't have to try to,
and that's
fight for.
That's an enslaved mind. Here's the funny thing, right? Capitalism has done a great thing. And folks, that I am for a bifurcated market, folks. So I mean, for those of you who are going to call and say capitalism has created success more than anything else, let me first remind you that there's not a zero-sum gain here. But anyhow, let's go ahead and talk about.
I mean, I want to just make I believe and I really enjoy like the free market and the ability to do something good for yourself.
Right.
But I just feel like there should be an extent, like a limit to how much you could take.
Well, free market
system,
isn't, but free market is not capitalism, and that's the thing that they fool people about. That is what they like to confuse people about, right?
All right, I'm gonna let me switch topics with you real quick.
Okay, no, okay, go ahead, go
ahead. Is that okay?
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, real quick.
Okay, earlier you talked about how Hillary wasn't, going to support Bernie. Mm-hmm. If you look at historically the number of laws back in the day, let's go back, let's say 30, 40 years. Let's say a good law will come out. Okay, this is a good law and it's good for the people.
Mm-hmm.
Well, back in the day, they used to cross parties a lot more. Like, let's say the Democrats came out with a law, but it was a really good law, so a lot of the Republicans would vote for it. And together, they would get stuff done. And, like, if you look at the amount of those laws that, that are good laws that, aren't getting passed nowadays, it's because, well, hey, that's a great law the Democrats came out with, but the Republicans aren't going to vote for it. They're not going to give the Democrats a thumbs up. So they're kind of, it's like divide and conquer.
Right. Well,
that is just the mentality that she should support him just because they're Democrat almost leads to you thinking, well, it's like when people go in and they vote a straight ticket, it's because they don't care who it is or what they're saying. It's like, well, I'm a Democrat. It's like that two-party system is kind of like why we're failing, because it's like it negates itself.
Bobby, let me stop
it leads to like not
Bobby,
being useful.
I want to stop you there for a second because you get it. The idea here is they're all in one the same, but what we try to do, they need that separation to do exactly what you stated in the first place. The only way to get folks under control is, phone's ringing, is to have a division, okay? You have to create that division, and that is what the two-party system does. But here's the funny thing. The base of, not the base, but the establishment of both parties are one and in the same. When a Bernie or even to some extent an Elizabeth Warren comes along, they change the dynamics, and that is what the establishment fears. And if you're going to notice, there are Democrats who've gone on TV and said, if Bernie and Elizabeth is a candidate, they would rather have Trump.
Right.
Okay? We have to understand what's going on. But, Bobby, keep listening, but I got to go to another call. But we'll go ahead and talk later, okay?
Okay, have a good day.
Thank you, sir. All right, let's go. I was supposed to be talking Medicare for All continuation from last week, but these callers are having some good topics. Come on in, Tom.
Hi, this is Tom, and there's something that everybody I hear on the radio and I talk to that they just totally leave out of the equation, and that's all. That's about the slavery that we're involved in, or trapped in, by giving all this our tax money. You know, our individual, we pay taxes on everything to the damn corrupt federal government and state government. Nobody brings that up. You're a slave to the state. You're paying high taxes.
I am not sure. I'm not sure how to answer that one, to be honest with you. Because
you don't have to answer.
Yeah,
I already know.
No. Well, the reason I'm saying that, Tom, is I think, in my humble opinion, on that part, you may not be on the full base. And let me explain what I mean by that. All right? Look, you have to have your roads. You have to have all these things. And that's what taxpayer dollars are supposed to do. When you have a society, we pool money together in a progressive manner if we want to be fair, and that build these things that feed the commons. Okay? That's what we should have. That requires taxes. Now, if you want to talk about those in government who take your tax dollars and in effect make it a transport to private companies that rip us off, I would be with you. But that is what we're trying to solve with the Bernies and so forth, where your tax dollars actually work for you.
Yeah, tax dollars go to prop up big business.
Exactly.
That's a problem.
Again, I would be with you. Again, I think
too much taxes also.
Tom,
there's too much waste in government. You
Tom,
left out waste. State government and federal government is just wasteful.
Let me ask you something. Let me ask you to give me one example, because what I like to do is come across with facts, right? So you said government is wasteful. Let's go with Texas State. Are you in Texas?
Yeah.
Let's go with Texas. What part of the Texas government is wasteful?
Every part of it.
No, just give me a specific thing that you think we're spending too much money on in Texas.
TxDOT.
Exactly how?
Oh, man. They're building the roads from designs from let's say, the 1920s and 30s.
Okay. Now, what could they have done less expensively?
Everything.
Okay, Tom. Let me tell you why I did that. I wasn't trying to be facetious there. Okay, I mean the mode what the plutocracy has told Americans, okay, is that they're paying too much in taxes. Right? If you take a look at how you as a Texan, how much you pay in sales tax and all these other taxes, it's a very small amount. If you take a look at what people like the corporations are supposed to pay, given what they pollute, given what they take out, what they throw out in the air, it is your responsibility to put a whole lot of money in. It is your responsibility to put a whole lot of money into schools. They don't. The reason this narrative came along about somehow we're paying too many taxes is not because of you and me. You and I don't pay a lot of taxes to the state government.
I do too.
Okay, wait, hold on a second, Tom. I really want to get this.
And federal tax.
Hold on. We'll go to federal afterwards. The reason why a lot of Americans are talking about too much taxes has nothing to do with their own pocketbook. It has to do with the pocketbook of the billionaires, who they have to convince you that the 50 cents that you're paying is too much so that they don't have to pay the millions that they have to pay. So they have this narrative out there that government is wasteful. Not true. The only part of government that is wasteful is a part that interfaces with private sector, which the private sector rips off the government. So let's get it right. We have to get it right.
You pay high taxes. I don't want to pay high taxes.
All right. I tell you what, Tom, keep listening. We talk another time. Thank you, my brother. Have a good one. All right, let's go to Humberto. Háblame, Humberto.
Roberto, buenas tardes.
¿Cómo estás, hermano?
I'm very well, man. Bien, gracias.
Talk to me.
I just want to say, as a political view with Bernie and Elizabeth, that's the ticket that I would like to see running for the White House. But one thing I wanted to bring through attention, because I was in Michigan not too long ago, and I was hearing something about having a real ID.
Yes.
And if you your current Texas driver's license, or for any state wherever you may live, if it does not have a star
yes,
at the top edge of it, you will not be eligible to travel, and mostly you will not be eligible to vote, even if you are a registered voter and present the ID that you currently have. And if it does not have that star on it, you will not be able to vote.
Well,
so
you
that's
just
something I just wanted to mention.
Oh,
Last
you just
week
taught me
I was trying to call
something.
to get in to mention that.
Umberto,
That, to alert. Yes, sir.
you just taught me something. I knew that you couldn't travel if you don't have the gold star. I did not know that it also affected voting. Are you sure about
Hey,
that?
yes, sir. That's what I heard.
Okay, well,
That's what I heard.
I am
was
going
in
to.
Michigan.
Okay.
At the airport.
Okay. I didn't know that, folks. So please do make sure that
Yes,
your
so-
driver's license, especially here in a place like Texas that has some voter suppression, that you make sure you get the appropriate driver's license. Thank you, Humberto. Anything, algo más que me quiere decir?
I'm going to be quiet and listen. I love your show. You keep up the good work.
Muchas gracias,
Educating
hermano.
a lot of folks. Igual, mi pana.
Tenga buen día,
Bendición.
pana. Suave. Ciao.
Okay.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Okay, let's go, Carrie. And by the way, we have lines open 713-526-5738. 713-526-5738. Carrie, come on in.
Hey, Egberto, it's Carrie.
How are you doing, my friend?
Good. How are you?
I am doing perfectly. Talk to me.
Good. I love the conversations you've been having with people today. Before Umberto, there was a gentleman talking about government waste.
Yes.
And it was so interesting because I'm kind of a, well, I don't want to call myself a Democrat. I'm a progressive.
Sure.
But
I love that you made that distinction, Carrie. I want more of us to make that distinction. Thank you.
Yeah, because I think that we really are aligned with a lot of Trump supporters, and that might sound shocking
No, it does
to
not
a
to
lot
me.
of people at first. However, that gentleman before Umberto was making an argument about government waste, which I was actually talking to my father, and my whole entire family is Trump supporters.
Mm-hmm.
So I tried to keep a dialogue with them because, we're born. Okay, so I'll try to make this point that I was thinking about when he was talking about government waste.
Right.
I'm like, okay, I was born into America. My father was born into America.
Mm-hmm.
And that means automatically when you're born into a country, it has a government and you will pay taxes.
Absolutely.
We should just accept that as a fact.
Right.
Now, moving on to the next point, now that we know we will have to pay taxes, what are we spending those taxes on currently? So when you talk about government waste, one thing that's I just dropped my keyboard. The thing we spend the most on is military.
Mm-hmm.
We spend about $750 billion per year on military.
Yes.
And we spend more than the next 13 countries combined. And that's very wasteful. That is unnecessary because also at Davos are the leaders of Lockheed Martin, and Raytheon and Boeing, and where does the most of your taxpayer dollars go to? It goes to the military.
Yes.
And so what they are doing is they are playing on your emotions.
Right.
They're playing on your fear of terrorism, and and then so what I'm saying is there are always going to be bad actors. Yes, there will always be bad actors in government. There will always be, some corruption trying to go on.
Mm-hmm.
However, what I'm saying as a progressive is that when I pay taxes, I want it to go to the good of the society.
Carrie, I'm going to have to go pretty quickly, but here's the deal. I am with you, and I think the point that you're making is perfect. And I'm glad that you brought up the 750 is in the military, which is, whenever we talk about the military budget, what folks don't realize is most of the military budget goes to private corporations who build bombs and other things.
Exactly.
Thank you so kindly.
So one last point, when Donald Trump did a $350 billion deal for weapons for Saudi Arabia,
right.
why isn't anyone paying attention to that? Because he's just giving handouts to big corporations.
There you go. Thank you so kindly, Carrie.
Yeah, anyway, thanks.
You have a wonderful day, okay?
You too.
Bye-bye. All right, let's go to Margaret. Margaret, come on in.
Hello.
Hello, Margaret.
Yes. Hello.
Go ahead.
I wanted to mention that as a senior citizen, I have looked at my taxes, and I pay a good portion of taxes, school taxes.
Mm-hmm.
And I have no kids in school for the last 40 years.
Right.
I paid taxes all of my life,
Mm-hmm.
Medicare and Social Security, and I'm now having to fight. We barely get along with our little Social Security checks,
Mm-hmm.
and Medicare tries to mess you around every time you turn around. But it seems to me like people who have children should pay school taxes.
All right,
Why do 60, 70, and 80-year-old persons need to pay school taxes?
Okay, you make
We
a
paid
very
all
good
that
point.
when we
Okay, you made a good point. You make a good point, and I don't have a lot of time, so I'm going to answer it this way. I'm going to ask you to accept it on face value, and you keep listening to our show, and you keep calling in, and you'll always have a voice here. So let me just give you an answer, and that is all of us pay taxes that we don't necessarily get the use of those particular taxes for. In other words, I pay taxes for things that I will never use. I pay taxes for some guys who are flying planes. I pay taxes for a lot of things. We can't partake it that way. Now, here's what I would like our society to do for you, Margaret. Our society have wronged you. But they've also told you to vote against your own interests. You want to be well taken care of so that Medicare doesn't screw you around anymore? Support Medicare.
Of course.
Okay, then support Medicare for all. You want to make sure that you get a better Social Security check? Then support a progressive candidate who realize that we don't need to cut Social Security. We don't need to do chain CPI. What we need to do is give you some more damn money. And why do we need to give you some more damn money? Because as the millionaires and multimillionaires has screwed our economy and extracted all the money from it, you are the one who they're asking to pay for it. So you support progressive candidates. You support these particular issues. And then your life will get better. Don't believe the crap you hear on TV.
If they had a flat 10% tax,
Right.
I don't care if you make $500 a year
Right.
or $5 billion a year, you get to pay 10%.
Margaret,
And on top of that,
I gotta go.
you pay
Margaret,
luxury taxes.
Margaret,
for
I gotta go.
luxury items.
Margaret, I gotta go, but I want to tell you something. And trust me on this one and call me back on it some other time. 10%, a flat tax doesn't work because it hurts you while it makes life a lot better for the billionaire.
It wouldn't hurt me.
No, what?
It would make life easier.
Here's what I'm saying.
Quit giving welfare and Social Security to people who didn't work and earn it.
Listen
Send
to
all
me.
the illegals home.
Margaret.
Just keep taking care of Americans.
Margaret, here's the deal. Call me back when we have more time because you are somebody that I need to talk to, okay?
Okay.
You have a wonderful day now.
Bye now.
Bye-bye. All right, let's go. Number 3. I can only stay 1 minute with each caller now. Teresa, come on in.
Hi. I want to talk about how the government provides services, and I don't think that the government is wasting its money or my money.
Thank you.
If I put a gallon of gas in my car, according to the pump, I want a gallon of gas. It's the government that makes sure that I get what I'm paying for.
Yes.
If we give them enough money to provide oversight. If I use my credit card, or if I go down to a pawn shop and I borrow some money or do a payday loan, I want to make sure that they don't trick me and take my money and make me a slave for the rest of my life
You
to
get
this
it.
debt.
Yes.
And the government protects us. If I have a pension plan or if I have stock, and I don't understand all of the minutia of that financial transaction. Mm-hmm. I want somebody that guarantees that when I retire, I get the money that I put into it and what they promised up front. I want an EPA that works, Environmental Protection Agency. I want my air to be clean, so 10 years from now, I don't have cancer or emphysema. I'm downwind from Texas City where they're doing all that oil, producing all those little plastic pellets to make into things, and the air's coming out of those stacks, and it's the government that we hire to make sure that we get clean air and clean water. If you run water from your tap, do you want clean water? You want to make sure somebody has clean water that's coming out. Federal
Teresa,
Aviation Administration, the FCC,
Teresa,
education. I want good education for children and training for them because I don't want them begging on the street. That does not help the quality of my life.
Right.
If my government does not provide a quality education, even if I'm 65 and I don't have children, I might have grandkids.
All right, Teresa, I got to go, but let me tell you, first of all, very, very solid, good points. You keep on listening and keep on calling in, okay?
My pleasure. Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye. All right, let's go to Gary, line number 5. Come on in, Gary.
Hey, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Quick comment and a quick question.
Yes.
I work for corporations and I work for government, and there's corruption, waste, fraud, and abuse in both of them.
Absolutely.
There's not one that's just a stellar example
They're
of
people.
not having that.
They're people.
Yeah, it's people. So the difference in my mind is having some sort of a feedback loop that corruption is weeded out and maybe whistleblowers are rewarded instead of punished and so on. The systems are set up to reward people who try and weed out that corruption.
Real quick, go to the question now, sir.
The question is, earlier you said, if I understood you right, you thought there was no difference between the Democrat and Republican parties?
No, that's not what I said. What I said is there's no difference between the Republican establishment and the Democratic establishment. Remember, there's a Republican party, there's a Democratic party.
I wanted to clarify that because I didn't understand.
No, well, please, I want that clarified. I mean, when you hear Joe Biden using the same talking points of Medicare for all that Donald Trump is using, that is your answer right
there.
Yeah,
I wanted to make sure I understood. Maybe some other people didn't understand either.
And I thank you for calling to make sure that I made that correction because I don't want people to get the wrong impression. So you're right for calling me out on that, brother.
And one last thing, get better.
Thank you. I appreciate it,
better.
man. All right, you take care, brother.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, I think MOD, you have a minute. Talk to me.
What do you think they're talking about in Davos?
Talk to me about Davos. What's that?
What do you think they're talking about in Davos?
I know you're going to tell me what they're talking about in Davos, but you and I know exactly what they're talking about in Davos. So shoot.
Well, I think that would be too much for. I would think. Do you think China is a communist republic, Roberto, or a technocratic?
Okay, I know where you're going. Let me tell you. China is the largest capitalist country by people, and it is also a technocratic country. Okay.
Okay. Do you know who helped frame that the infrastructure?
I got 5 seconds before I have to close the entire show out.
That's what they're talking about in Davos.
All right. Thank you so kindly, buddy. Folks, my name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right, and guess what? You guys know exactly how I end this show, and it goes like this: I am what? Out!